Welcome back to the Gun Show, my friends. We appreciate you joining us. I have a guest today I'm super stoked about. We're going to get into who he is and what he does in just a minute. But to kind of get into that, before getting into that, this is actually a childhood friend of mine on here today. And it's almost like the full circle as the world turns. You know, he and I played soccer together when we were in middle school. And he was a lot smarter than me. Always has been, always will be. And so I stayed in my regular public school and making the mistakes that I made and that people know me for making, and continuing to act a fool from time to time. And he went off to a much better school and pursued a much better career. And he has launched his own business and been pursuing that for a while. So we're going to get into those details in a minute, but I just had to let everyone know what a joy it is to have an opportunity to host a show where 25 years, 30 years? It would have been more than that, actually. 35. Yeah, I'm dating myself. Between 30, 35 years would have been the last time we hung out. And here we are in Florida together. So let me just say this is a MTDCNC production. Thank you at MTDCNC for producing this. It's awesome. Let's thank our sponsors as well before we get into the show. AMT, IMTS. Very excited to be partners with you guys. eButter Growth Systems. They will double your profits within 3 years, or if you are a struggling machine shop and you're just looking for a way to create success, they'll help you there as well. Shop floor coffee, delicious coffee here on the shop floor, ready to help you out, keep you caffeinated, keep you moving. Although robots and cobots are helping us with that these days, which is cool as well. And then the American Precision Museum, yes, up there in good old Vermont. Kind of difficult for some people to get to, which is why we created an incredible tour for you that's getting ready to be released as well. Over an hour long and a detailed tour of what you can see in the original Silicon Valley of manufacturing. Super cool. Really, really a wonderful place. So Jerry Rex, shout out to you as well. The games today, we've just got one. I figured it'd be fun to do two truths and a lie because I haven't seen this young man in a long time. So I'm waiting to see how good of a liar he is. If he's anything like me, he's a terrible liar. I'm a terrible liar. And also, I can't guess when someone's lying. Christian knows this to be true. He's always behind there. I always ask him first to see if he's any good at it either. He's shaking his head no, but he usually does better than me. But I'm horrible. 1 out of 50 maybe. It's been bad. It's been bad. Without any further ado, please put your hands together and welcome my longtime friend, Mr. Benji Burrell, founder, CTO, Senior Business Technology Engineer at Good People Technologies. Benji, it is good to see you, my friend. It has been far too long. Welcome back to the Gun Show, my friends. This is the VIP edition.
Tony, I really appreciate you having me here. Thank you for the introduction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love this, the idea of seeing you out here telling the world about manufacturing in the joyous way that you do. I think you bring a lot to the industry, and the industry needs some energy because there's a lot of really hard things, a lot of important things going on in this industry, and the world needs to know about it and understand how important it is to all of our lives.
Yeah, we've kind of named ourselves the invisible industry at this point, right? And it feels that way sometimes. There was a time, probably our parents' time, to be honest, where manufacturing jobs, people who were into engineering and manufacturing were really placed on a pedestal. Thank you for making this stuff. U.S. manufacturing, U.S. made, all of that. And then it just kind of got outsourced, and we stayed creative. We're still making things like the iPhones and the iPads and things like that. And we have our Teslas and SpaceXs. We're creative, but we outsourced the majority of the work. And then COVID hit. And then we were like, oh my gosh, there's two oceans on either side of us. And we're having some major problems getting some components we need, right? So now we're talking about reshoring and making it more visible again, getting the kids excited as it's actually considered or been documented as a national security threat, the skills shortage we have right now. And we'll get into all that. I used to make, when we started this show, and this is a little bit of a bad segue, but I used to make, when we started this show, some bad jokes, bad dad jokes. I've just started replacing this, as Christian found out recently, with a moment of gratitude and a pet peeve. Because it allows us to offer a piece of our authenticity of what we're grateful for, but also sometimes we just want to, I find a lot of folks out there just want to say something about something that's made them upset, and then we're done. And then we're like, well, I feel better about that. So I'm going to do a moment of gratitude, and then I'll do a pet peeve, and it gives you time to think of one because I haven't prepped you. My moment of gratitude is this moment right now, is hanging out with you after 30 plus years and getting to learn your story in authenticity, because I purposely have not dove into too much of what you're doing, because today I want my reactions to be real. I want to be excited with you. I want to learn. So this moment right now is what I'm grateful for. My pet peeve, I had somebody cut me off this morning on the drive to come here. It's turn signals. I don't even care if you cut me off. If you signal a little bit, just put on a signal. You know what I mean? Just let me know where you're trying to go. I'm happy to just tap on my brake a little bit. So, and I get a lot of people are on their phones these days, talking, texting, but don't, use your turn signal. Use both hands, please. Let me know. Let me know what's going on. I'm a turn signal kind of guy. Did that give you time to think of a gratitude and a pet peeve?
Oh, yeah, it sure did.
Awesome.
Yeah, it did. It did. Well, my gratitude is actually my physical body. I'm very thankful for the ability to move around in the world without too much worry. I mean, I have body pain as I get older, but I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm not disabled in some other way, and I'm able to go out and enjoy the world. I can hike and camp, and I can snorkel off your beautiful beaches here, and so I'm very thankful for that. And I'm going to ride that train as long as I can.
Yes, sir.
And the thing that my pet peeve is, I think, similar. I think people don't appreciate what they have as much as they should. There's a lot of people out there in the world that are thankful for much less than you and I have. Mm-hmm. They're really thankful for that. And I think folks, if they took a moment to just step back and realize the country that we live in, there's no place like America, and the wealth. There's disparity here for sure, but there's a lot of great things going on around us, and people have a lot available to them, so they should be thankful.
Well said, Benji. And when you say that, immediately in my head, I think of some of the happiest places I've ever been to. The people that are the happiest are oftentimes not the richest. I've been over to the Philippines, and there's some situations I was like, oh man, I wish I could do more to help. And I do support several orphanages around the world. One in Mexico, one in Bali, one in the Philippines, and support these kids. But at the same time, I've not seen more smiles in a country than a place like the Philippines and Thailand. It just seems like everything's okay. Everything's happy. So great gratitude and pet peeve. And I agree with you. We do live in a wonderful place with lots of opportunity, and sometimes we take it for granted, and that's what happens when we sit in a similar place for a long amount of time without going somewhere else and seeing some of that diversity and difference, right? So very well said. All right, normally when we talk about the show and we're on the show, we humanize everything, and we're going to today. But I want to immediately get into learning about what you've created, Benji, because I'm scrolling through your LinkedIn here. It's great resource for me to learn more about everyone. And I see through the years of you and I having disconnected, as you were way smarter than me, and I'm going to keep saying that, by the way, because you were and are. No, I'm not going to. You went to school at Virginia Tech, BS in mechanical engineering. Well done. And governor's school is where I remember you leaving me behind. And it looks like you've done a ton. I mean, you've created a lot here, but what we're on right now is Good People Technologies, right? And what a cool name as well. Can you tell the audience, and then we're going to get into your story and how you got there, but can you tell the audience what Good People Technologies is and what you do?
I will, yeah. Thank you for asking. I own the company Good People Technologies, and I have for a little over 10 years now. My team and I help organizations, companies, bring together the digital technology of the world so that they can run themselves more efficiently and effectively. We help companies grow their top line and their bottom line, bring in more sales, and as well as bring in or be more efficient and have more left over at the end of the day by bringing in efficiency tools and helping modernize when necessary, maybe change systems. But we help businesses, manufacturers, retailers, wholesalers, distributors, machine shops, for example. We help them with those systems. So
that's a good summary. And so this, you mentioned retail. So although we do a lot of manufacturing here, we do have a wide array of audience members that listen, just in case they tune into the gun show and they find that we're talking about guns or muscles, which usually we're not. But you have lots of muscles, and we have talked about guns before. In fact, one of the shows we did on guns, Christian, if you remember, that one went viral. That one's doing really well on YouTube. So people do like that topic as well. I'm reading on, again, LinkedIn, helping e-commerce business owners use custom ERP solutions to automate and integrate their business so that they can scale sales, fulfillment, and operations. ERP is something we're all familiar with in manufacturing. Is that the word that would define is strong. So not define, but the word that would kind of summarize what you're doing for everyone, retailers and manufacturers included?
That's right. I mean, businesses, all businesses out there, regardless of what you provide, whether it's a product or a service to the world, you have the same, almost the same problems under the hood of your business. You know, you have to manage your finances. You've got to buy things. You have humans that come in and do great work for you, your team. You have to manage them. You manage the sales, right? Going out the door. You manage the production of the product that you make. And you manage just relationships with your customers in general. All of those problems have been rolled into a typical ERP system, which I'll define for everybody just in case, is enterprise resource planning. So, I'll throw in timesheets, for example, managing your employees in that way, and they're all based on the same record system. So, you have one record for a customer, and that record gets accessed by all the other systems that need to communicate with that customer. And so, a retailer might have an old system, for example, or a manufacturer might have an old system that they use to plan production through the shop floor. And that might be difficult to do, or maybe if you have a process that must vary over time, maybe that's hard for you to fold into the predefined process. And so there are great tools out there that we can put in place that help you improve those systems.
I work with a lot of ERP folks out there, and I've done some great factory tours showcasing the capabilities of what ERP brings to a machine shop for sure. This is a twofold question I'm going to ask you, and I hope I don't get lost in the question itself. In the ERP world in manufacturing, there are some places of integration into other systems that might be lacking in some ERP systems, right?
Exactly.
And I want to know what those are and how you guys solve those issues. And then I also believe that because you are addressing more than just manufacturing, you might have some insight from other areas of utilizing ERP that you can bring into manufacturing that can help there as well, because a lot of the ERP systems I work with are manufacturing focused solely, if not almost solely.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah, and I've seen that a lot lately. I talk to a lot of different types of companies out there as we tell the world about our services. And what I hear time and again is that the ERP systems that manufacturers use are lacking, especially in the customer relationship management world. So having a CRM in place for you as a manufacturer to interact with your customers, being able to track the last time you talked to them, what purchases they've made, and look at their order history and tracking those things, that's not easy in a lot of these ERPs. And so what we will typically do is use an integration tool. And we try to, I should say at this point, we try to make things as simple as possible, keep them as simple as possible. So if there's a tool out there already that can integrate this ERP with a CRM, lots of acronyms here, but
oh yeah.
Yeah. But,
Christian, you're getting all this,
yeah,
right?
Right.
He's like, there's too many acronyms going on.
Yeah. So when you've got your business management software and it's lacking in some feature and you want to connect it over to your customer relationship management software, we use off-the-shelf integrations whenever possible, or we can build them custom as needed, because sometimes you have a unique process that has to be accommodated. Maybe a long-standing order that has to maybe be changed over time, and that causes some issues. So yeah, that's one example of a piece of software that you have to bolt onto an ERP.
It's interesting. For everyone listening right now, goodpeopletech.com. That's the website. We're going to go ahead and throw that out there because now I'm going to get into Benji's journey. But I want to throw out the website so you guys can do some research on your own. We'll say it again at the end just in case you fast forwarded my parts and only listened to Benji. It happens sometimes, right? He's more entertaining than I am anyway. All right, Benji, you and I hung out when we were 12. Right? Before you left for governor's school.
That's right.
Playing soccer together. There's obviously a large gap as we're a little bit older now, not in our hearts, but in our bodies. And that gap has created something really cool. You said 10 years. So that would make you somewhere between graduating college, or let's say even going to college at about 18, let's say, to about 35 years old, 34 years old before you started this company. What's that gap and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh, Tony, Oh my gosh, it's quite a gap. Because as a young person, when you and I were hanging out in middle school playing soccer, and you used to run circles around us. Everybody. I mean, if the world doesn't know, Tony was a semi-professional soccer player for many years in the Richmond, Virginia area. Traveled all around the country. They got ribbons. They got ribbons. So yeah, he's an incredible athlete. So. After we parted our ways and I went to a different high school, I went to the Governor's School in Richmond, Virginia, and I met a lot of really wonderful people there. And then went to Virginia Tech, studied mechanical engineering, and really learned to love manufacturing there. I saw my first machine shop really because as a kid, I would take things apart, see how they worked. Most of the time get them back together, and got better at that as time went on. But really, I saw some amazing manufacturing at Virginia Tech, and I kind of got an itch for it, got the bug. And so I worked for a military supplier in Blacksburg, Virginia. And because I love mountains, I think I screwed up on our game. I was going to try to lie to you that I hate mountains, but I just...
Throw that one out.
Yeah, throw that one out.
I would have never guessed that as a lie anyway. I know you better than that.
Exactly.
You could go 30 years or not. I know you better than that one.
Exactly. So yeah, I worked there in the military supply world. We made electrical assemblies for defensive and offensive systems for the U.S. military, and it was a really wild journey. I learned a lot about electricity, impedance, for example, and shielding. As a mechanical engineer and manufacturing engineer, how do you shield a circuit from radiation that maybe an enemy is trying to throw at your missile? How do you shield your circuitry so your computer can talk to the eyeball and the head of the missile? That's what we had to figure out, and that's what we manufactured. So, and then I also worked in a factory where we made bulletproof vest material. And I got to learn to be a machine designer there and work with the folks in the machine shop to make custom parts that we would use to maintain the equipment there in the factory. That was really a lot of fun. Then I took a turn. Mm-hmm. I was looking around in the mountains, and I looked north, and I saw that there was some serious surface mining going on that was causing some problems to the folks that live there. And so I took a turn and went to help them, and worked in the not-for-profit world for about 7 or 8 years, helping the folks up in the coal fields and trying to bring new jobs and renewable energy jobs and outdoor industry jobs, for example, among other things. So had to scratch an itch of altruism, I think maybe. And so then after that journey, I decided that I needed to go out and actually make a living. Yeah, it's hard to make a living being an advocate like that. So I couldn't pay my mortgage, so I had to go get a regular job. Did that for a while, and I worked for some not so nice people, and it encouraged me to start my own company. I decided that I wanted to start a company where I would like to work and where my team would enjoy themselves and be smiling, and so I've tried to do that. It's been quite a journey, but that was part of the impetus for it, is to control my day and to do good in the world in the way that we can, and bring together a good team of people that like to solve problems together and do that together, and move forward in the world together.
Well, I have tons of questions, so this is going to be fun.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
What's our clock look like? We're going to talk for the next 3 hours. Is that all right, Christian? 3 hours good for you?
Might have to come back.
Do a part 2, part 3?
Yeah, we could do it after.
So as the pendulum swings, you're doing a lot of defense work and high-end defense work, right?
Yeah.
And that's complicated defense work even. Then you said, I'm going to go nonprofit. So you went straight to the opposite side. And then you said you went into something because you needed to pay your mortgage that wasn't the perfect fit.
Correct.
Right? So it's almost like the Three Bears. Right? And then you started your own job.
My own Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
This is my Goldilocks zone right here.
So I want to dive in a little more to those stories, if it's okay. What was it like on the defense side of things? Because I've been to SHOT Show in Vegas, and it happens every January. If you've not been, I cordially invite you. You can join me next time. I'll be your cameraman. You can be my cameraman.
There you go.
We'll bring a small crew. I've been the last 2 years, and it's wild. The SHOT Show. It's You can shoot guns if you want, lots of guns, lots of hunting, camping, lots of gear like that. Dogs walking around with bulletproof vests on,
Wow.
So when you mentioned creating, the materials, that's what made me think of that as well. So let's dive into, if it's okay with you,
course.
that journey of defense and what that was like.
Yeah, well, it was amazing to meet all of the people who had been, like we talked about earlier in the podcast, quietly working away. You know, it's a quiet industry, and I didn't understand as a young person how many manufacturing facilities there were out there. For example, you know, making the random things that are all around us. You either grow it or you mine it, and then you turn it into stuff in factories, right? And so in this place, we were making these really complex electrical assemblies, and we've got quality engineers. You've got machine shop workers. You've got folks who are doing design work. You've got folks who are designing processes. You've got folks running on the back end as well. The accounting and the sales folks, they're all really important. And I got to see, generally how a business works, but in the world of defense. And so the goal was twofold: to make enough money to pay the bills for all the people working there, and then also to produce a product that protected everyone in this country and frankly around the world, the way we defend the world, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so just thinking through how important it was, you know, and actually working through some personal anxiety, because there were some problems along the way with some of a component or two. You know, if you had an issue, like, well, it's really important that we fix this. So I thought it was really a fascinating journey. One of the things that I looked up this gentleman, I was thinking about him the other day. His name is Terry Moorhead. He worked at the organization with me. And maybe I shouldn't have said his name, but I
love when that happens.
Well,
I love a name drop.
Yeah, well, but he has since passed, right? But he was an older gentleman when I met him. But he's the guy that taught me KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Right? I like that.
Learn that in that world, and you know, just keep things simple. Simple is not just good for the process being easier, but it's easier for everybody along the way to absorb it. You're probably going to have a better product when you have something more simple.
Is that what Prince was singing about?
I don't know.
Probably not, right?
You have to ask my wife. She knows more about Prince. Yeah, she'll be thankful that you dropped Prince on that. Yeah, for sure.
She'll be watching this, right?
Yeah, she's gonna her doves are crying right now. Yeah.
Well played. All right, so I'm always intrigued on that side of manufacturing, but I know I want to talk about the leap that you made into nonprofit, right? And I want to share a story with you. It's a little bit different, but it does revolve around mining. Mm-hmm. And I've done some work recently with a wonderful lady, I'm going to name drop as well, Kathy Walker, in Eastern Kentucky. And in Eastern Kentucky, they were doing mining as well, coal mining as well. And I'm going to get the number wrong, so I don't even know if I want to say the number, but thousands of jobs were lost in 24 hours. And she created a Gene Haas trade school that allowed people to come in and find a way to get work when we're talking second and third generation miners.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything but that. So she has done a wonderful job. And that's just my story of connecting manufacturing and mining. I know yours is a little bit different, a little greener, a little eco-friendly. Can we talk about that world a little bit? Because I've always been intrigued by it, and I don't know what the answer is, honestly. We're going into, we want to be green, right? So we have electric vehicles, but where are the batteries going? And then we talk about, hydrogen and the possibilities of, so there's, a lot about that side of things from this nonprofit journey you took. Mm-hmm. I'd just like to hear more about the passion behind that, what you think you accomplished, even though it wasn't paying the mortgage, but what you were able to accomplish living in that world. And do you think you'd still be in it if it was a profitable way to pursue that lifestyle?
At EBITDA Growth Systems, we guarantee to double your value in 3 years. Well, instead of telling you about a guarantee, how about if I tell you a story? We had a shop owner come to us at an event saying, I'm not sure if you can help us. He said, we have our credit line's maxed out in our business. I have a second mortgage on my home. It's maxed out. I'm not sure what to do. I have a payroll coming up next week and I don't know if I'm going to make it. Can you help us? We said we weren't sure, so we came in and we came alongside of him. In 18 months, he went from not having any money to having over $800,000 in the bank and having a 6 times exit what his value was at that day. And now he's living a life that he always dreamed of with his family. And it's fantastic, and that's what's really rewarding for us, and that's what EBITDA Growth Systems is all about. If you want to know more about EBITDA Growth Systems, go to www.ebitagrowthsystems.com, EBITDA growthsystems.com, and go to our contact page where I will reach out to you personally.
That last question is an interesting one. I'll start there. I don't know because that work is really hard. And I'm not claiming that I do this work, but my wife is a social worker, and that work is really hard.
Yeah, it is. Shout out to all your social workers out
Yes,
there.
you are.
Amazing. You're doing something I can't do, for sure.
You are frontline workers. You are first responders.
Yes.
As much as a fireman or a police officer.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah.
and thank you to those folks as well.
Yep.
But that work is really hard. And so here's the deal. My whole purpose of jumping from the manufacturing world to that not-for-profit world was because I saw people not very far from me who could have been my family and friends, and they ended up being my friends, who were being treated in a way that didn't seem fair, and I wouldn't have appreciated it if I was in that situation. And I looked over my right shoulder, and I looked over my left shoulder, and I didn't see enough people doing anything about it. And so I just decided to try to do something about it, and I wanted people to have safer jobs. If you're an underground coal miner, shout out to you. If you're a surface miner, shout out to you. But you deserve to work in a safe place, right? Just like everybody in a manufacturing environment, anywhere, driving down the street, everybody deserves safety. No one deserves to have their livelihood or their life or their faculties taken away from them by somebody else's decisions. So then there was also human health. There were a number of situations where coal mining waste was pumped into old underground mines. And then of course the communities living near there, these are the
Suffered
mountainous.
as well, right?
Yeah. What happened? The coal waste got into their wells, and so you got really gaseous, sulfury material coming out of the shower head, and people burning their skin with the stuff in the water. And so again, it was the application of the golden rule. That was the whole point. My goal was to just bring kindness and positivity to that area in a place that seemed like it needed it, and no one else was doing enough about it. So. For better or for worse, for all those folks out there that might not agree with what I did, I really appreciate your patience, and we were just trying our best to put a good foot forward. And so, not everybody was happy with the work that we did. And I have to say that out loud, but we felt like it was right. So
The golden rule is a good thing to live by.
Agreed.
I think that's fair. I'm sure there were lots of folks out there that appreciated what you did as well, even though you just took an opportunity to apologize because not everyone liked it. I often find the people that don't like things are louder and more abusive than those who like things. They're quieter, calmer, and more gracious, right? So sometimes when we're getting into something, we feel we're doing a good job. We feel we're bringing, the best that we can of ourselves to a situation, and people are loud in a negative way. It sometimes reduces what we think we're giving to the world, and there's a lot of people we've helped along the way that just aren't as loud. So while you might be apologizing, I'm sure you helped a lot of people also. So I just want to say that out loud.
Thank you.
And so you kind of quickly skipped over the next part of your unhappy workload, as I might say. So maybe we don't want to dive into that. So we're going to go back into good people tech. Why ERP? You're a brilliant dude. You probably could have done anything. You could have run factories. You could have created any kind of resource for any part of the world you wanted to. The background that you have already, and I've known you for so long. Why ERP? Is it then again back to the golden rule? You feel like this is the best way to help people?
Well, there has to be a little bit of personal gain here too. So, because I got to make a living, right?
Well, we could do both. You can live by the golden rule and make a living. I think that's fair to do.
I think so. That's the only way you can sustain yourself, living out the golden rule.
And continue to help people.
Exactly.
Right. If we weren't a little bit selfish, then where would those resources come from to continue to help people? I remember if I've interrupted you, and I apologize for that.
That was great.
I remember a long time ago, I've never in my life chased money. I've never gone after a job because it's paid more. I've always gone after a lifestyle that I like, and then things have ended up working out. But I remember one time somebody talking about the lottery. What would you do if you won the lottery? That kind of thing. And I almost, in my inside of almost like guilty, like I don't know what I would do. There's so many people out there starving that need money more than me. My legs work, my body works, my mind works. I can get out there and do work, right? And so many more people need it. And then this is a simple concept, but they looked at me as like, but if you have it, you have the mind, the body, and the willingness to create things to multiply that money and help more people than just one person that might need the money, right? I'm thinking to myself, okay, I do deserve more money. I could help more people if I have more money. So I've started to pursue in a small selfish way, but in a larger selfless way, a path that allows me to help more people, including things like this podcast, allowing people to share their story, whether it be financial or through this type of resource. It's all about helping people, isn't it?
It is. Tony, thank you again for having me here. This is lovely. And I think, you need to be able to sustain yourself to do good in the world. And there's a term called it's enlightened self-interest. And I think you're doing good while looking after yourself, and I think it's okay. To get back to your question, I started Good People Technologies because I like solving problems, and I like being able to work with a variety of different organizations and solve lots of different problems. The ERP system specifically, for some reason in my life, I've gravitated towards under-the-hood systems. Like, you don't drive down the road if your engine isn't working in your car, even though the car looks good on the outside, right?
Not unless you're Fred Flintstone.
Exactly, and my feet don't run that fast, right? I can't keep up with I-95 out here.
No, sir.
The under-the-hood systems are the places that I feel like I've really enjoyed working on, but also it's a place where there's a lot of opportunity in the business world. There's a lot of organizations that don't know how to build organizational tools. They know how to maybe make something or sell something or buy something and warehouse it, but the tools they use to run themselves are often lacking. They don't take the time to work on their business. They are building their business in terms of.
I was going to say that actually, and that might be the next question I bring up, but please continue.
No, that's it. I'll stop there. Yeah.
I don't never want you to stop, to be honest.
Okay.
You're so well spoken that I like learning from you. But what I would bring up is that I would say a majority of this audience that's listening and watching right now would be in the manufacturing world. And a lot of times in manufacturing, there's a few items that we can bring up. One is traditional. It's tough to, not in every country, I would say. In fact, somebody asked me recently which countries adopt technologies quicker than others. And I kind of thought it was more of a people situation than a country situation, but they asked me that, so I gave a stereotype as well and gave my answer. But as a general rule, manufacturing can sometimes evolve slower. We find that when something is tried and true, when something is proven, even if it takes 5 operations to do something and we can do it in 1 operation, or even if tribal knowledge has been working for 20 years and now we can adapt an ERP or a machine monitoring system, we take longer than maybe we should to adopt that style of information or advancement into our machine shops. Machine shops, they focus on making things. It's that day-to-day activity of turning raw material into something that works or something that's functional, right?
Get that throughput up.
And it's so important to keep the spindles turning, to make those chips, everything that we all talk about in a cliche way. I would love to hear, it doesn't have to be an elevator pitch, but I would love to hear if I'm your next machine shop, and that is my day-to-day focus. And sometimes it's tough for me to balance my books because I got to make sure that if I'm getting my parts out, let's say I'm even working on something like titanium, 1 scrap piece, and I'm negative for the week, I'm negative for the month. How do you describe what you do for me to help my machine shop do better?
Hey everybody, Mike Franz here with Shop Floor Coffee. For 20 years, we've been seeing the same issues going on with workforce development and the shortage in workers across the industry. We wanted a way to give back. Shop Floor Coffee is our way to do that. Proceeds from every bag or every type of coffee you buy from us go back to the community. We work with amazing programs and initiatives across the country where we're giving back. We want to help support the community. Come together with us. Join us in this effort to help support the community. Please, thank you very much.
Well, I would say that my organization will work with you as an advocate and a team member of yours. And let's say you're running a shop floor or you're running a factory. You have to think about change management, because your team may come along at a different rate than the engineers come along at a different rate than machinists or whatever, and depending on which technology you introduce, some people come along different paces. And so making sure that you understand what your goals are as a company and what it is you need, how you measure your success. So, asking how you measure your success, how many pieces you've made a month, or how many dollars per month, for example, and building out your KPIs, key performance indicators, right? And then knowing how you measure your success, then we know what levers to push on in your company. Now, you may be very good at purchasing. You have a great purchasing department, but maybe the sales team doesn't have the tools they need, or maybe it's the opposite. And so our goal as a company is to not try to sell our clients new tools. It's to either, number one, leverage the ones that they have that they know how to use already to the greatest effect. Because if, let's say, they're not using a module of their ERP, maybe we can just bring on an expert and help explain to the team, the existing team, how to use that module in a more effective way, or in from scratch, and then ramp that up. And you don't have to buy another piece of software. It's not, you're not paying somebody to transition your entire operation over. If you can't do that, then we'll help you look out there for the systems that might work better for you given your constraints and your KPIs. So it really is all about what the company's goals are, and that's really, we stay focused on that. Every time someone requests a change or requests some configuration on an ERP, we say, how does this relate back to what you wanted to accomplish as a company? So, does that answer your question?
It does, but it always leads to more questions.
Okay,
Every conversation for me is an onion. I just peel and peel and peel until I start crying.
The Endless Onion. That's your new band.
It might be the new podcast, The Endless Onion.
Yeah.
What do you think, Christian? The Endless Onion? Can we do a 2025 series? Oh, just shake your head. Yes, he's shaking his head. No, it's a bad idea. Kids these days never like the grown folks' ideas.
1 out of 50 good ideas. Yeah, it's still a pretty good ratio.
That is
like
true.
Taking photographs.
So Benji, what I want to ask you is, I would make the discussion that a lot of folks, small to medium-sized shops, let's say, there's a lot of big shops out there where the management will actually come from a completely different world because management is necessary to run a big facility. And we could also make the discussion or argument for medium-sized shops, but I'm going to stick with small to medium-sized shops. A lot of these shops are started and then developed from a tinkerer that feels like they can make something. So it's usually a garage, and then it goes into something a little bigger, and then they expand again. And in the world of tinkerers, because I'm definitely in that world, like I like to break things and fix things, and because you left for governor's school and I stayed at the same school and got kicked out and barely graduated and all that stuff, I am not good at sitting at a desk, memorizing and repeating. And I apply that to maybe sitting down and adapting to a software versus a hardware. And so the reason I bring this up is because a lot of tinkerers out there are going to be really good at making their machines work. And again, going to question, well, why do I need software? So I'm kind of, you've already answered it once, but I'm just kind of continuing to help the people out there who are the tinkerers understand how important this side of things is. And I bring that up because we're actually working on a series right now with EBITDA Growth Systems called Shop Rescue. And it's a play on Restaurant Impossible and Bar Rescue, and it's a shop that's struggling, and I find that the shops that we've spoken to that could do better are often lacking on that side of things, whether it be the management, the software, or the sales, and they are damn good at making stuff, right? So I want you to just kind of reiterate again what this world applied to what these tinkerers are great at in combination with each other can do for a shop.
That's a really great way of framing it. The thing that I have had to learn as an individual in my lifetime is to learn to trust others more.
Me too.
And I say that because when it comes to software and hardware, I trust someone to have made my vehicle strong enough for me to drive down the road and it not crash, right? And keep me safe if it does, right? Well, the tinkerers out there, I'd ask you to know that there are some shady software vendors out there and shady folks who are consulting, but there are a lot of folks out there like myself who are interested in helping you be more efficient, and software can really help with that. I say purchasing a lot, but we can talk inventory. If your inventory is hard to track, there's probably a system out there that can make it easier to track. If it's hard for you to bring product in the door or hard for you to keep track of the product inside your building as it travels through your manufacturing facility, there's probably a system out there that will make that much more efficient. I mean, save you hours a week per person, and add that up over the course of the year. That's big time. And and so it does take a little analysis to dive into those things, and it takes a person thinking about just that, and thinking about change over time. And so that software can be extremely useful, and many companies use it to great effect.
How's the best way to get in touch with you? If we are now intrigued, the watchers, the listeners out there are intrigued, and like Benji seems like a great guy, comes from a brilliant background. He's doing, good things and wanted to create a company that allows others to smile in their day-to-day activities as well as bring me success in my company, which hopefully will bring more smiles also. What's the best way to contact you? Is it through website? Is it knock on your front door? How do you prefer to be, reached out to?
Oh, the website is perfect. It's goodpeopletech.com. That's goodpeopletech.com.
and just click, I need a consultation.
Yeah, there's a big red button, probably 10 of them on that page, that...
Can't miss it.
You can't miss it. It's the best action you can take, the one we want you to take, which is to contact us. We give out free consultations, and I'm happy to talk to you several times and see if it's a good fit. I don't want to work for someone who doesn't need our services or it's not a good fit in some way, shape, or form. And so, let's have a chat. It starts there. I think it's important to also know that it's Good People Technologies is not just me. I have a bench of 25 plus subject matter experts who know Epicor P21, for example, Infor, Sage, NetSuite, Odoo, all these ERP systems. We've got HubSpot, Salesforce, the integrations between all of those. I have experts that know how to work each system and then experts that know how to tie them together. And so when you reach out to us at goodpeopletech.com through that contact us link, then we can start that conversation and see if we can help you.
Well said. I'm going to leave this part open before I ask you questions. I'm going to get back on the friend level again in just a minute. We're going to talk about some of the hiking and stuff that you've been doing. Okay. But I want to leave just one spot open in case there's something I didn't ask you today that you feel like the audience should know about you, the company, the capabilities, because I think you kind of just summarized it just a second ago, which was an amazing job. And if there's nothing, if you feel like you've done a wonderful job, then just say, we're good. Let's talk about fun stuff. But I just want to leave that floor for you, that pedestal, that spotlight for you right now to have that opportunity.
Well, I'm going to reveal a little personal information here in that I'm new at marketing and sales. My company has been very small on purpose for many years, and in the last year and a half, I've made a concerted effort to grow it and reach out to the world. And now I'm telling the world about what we do for the first time in a mass kind of way. Thankfully, the Gun Show is part of that, and really appreciate it. It's a wonderful podcast. And so we're telling the world about it. And so you may not have heard of us, but we do great work. We have a great team, and if we don't know what we, if we don't know how to solve your problem, we will help you find someone to do so. We won't tell you that we can solve a problem and then not be able to. So we want to make sure you get your goals met.
Well done. Yeah, that's one of the, okay. Back to full circle pet peeves. I don't like being told something that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
No doubt.
All right, we have a couple minutes before this podcast ends, so I'm just going to dive. I've missed you, buddy. It's been a long time since we were children running around on the soccer field. And we've talked about the business side of things. I just want to take the next 5 minutes and you're in Asheville, North Carolina, right?
That's right.
You were in Tennessee for a little bit. We grew up in Virginia together. You went to Virginia Tech. You obviously are a mountain guy.
Yep.
Do you have any wonderful, fun stories about whitewater rafting, hiking, chasing waterfalls? Anything you can share with me? I just kind of want to learn a little bit more about you.
Oh man, I tell you, my wife and I have 2 dogs. They're about 40 pounds each. We love them to death. They're 2 mutts. They're Sprout and Pearl. And they love to trounce all over the mountain, man. It's just like a joy. I feel like my grandfather in some ways, just watching my dogs run. I just like to watch my dogs run. You even came out with a little bit more of a country accent when you say it like that. I like to watch my dogs run. I just like to watch my dogs run. Yep. But and I come from. I love being around all kinds of people. Where we live in the mountains, there's a lot of folks from all over, but there's a lot of really great people from that have been Appalachian through and through multiple generations. And so one of the things I love about where we live is the way people talk. I can't always, do that accent. It comes out when I'm around, but I think it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful way of speaking. And, but yeah, we love Asheville, North Carolina. It's an amazing place to live. I think we've got some great neighbors, and really active community members. I appreciate our neighbors who are, just stepping out and trying to do good, pick up trash when they walk down the street. They look out and make sure the storm drains are clear, stuff like that. I mean, people care about where we live. I love that. I
like that. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna segue real quick and pick it back up in just a second. But one of my colleagues, I have a new camera person, Sol Everett. If you're watching and listening, shout out to you. You're doing a wonderful job, by the way. And she is Michigan native, and she just graduated college and had never really left Michigan, once or twice to some other places, but for the most part, not really left. And I took her to Greenville, South Carolina just recently, and there was an accent there, as you might imagine,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I love this accent. I could listen to them talk all day long.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. We were out on a lake this past weekend and heard one of the parties not far down. Boy, that gentleman had the deepest, thickest, most beautiful accent I've ever heard, and I just thought it was the greatest thing. And just joy. You can hear the joy in the way he was speaking, and it was just fun to listen to. Almost like hearing a Jamaican speak, It's that sort of stuff.
With a patois.
Yeah, a patois. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, back to your question. I mean, we love to whitewater raft and we love to canoe. Tony, when I graduated from Virginia Tech, I bought myself a canoe. It's an Old Town Appalachian model. And this past weekend, we took it out for its last voyage.
No.
Man, I had that thing for 22 years. And so I repaired it multiple times, and I finally sprung a leak, and I don't think I should take it out again.
But maybe you should hang it on the wall,
Yeah,
or
maybe I should.
make a table out of it or something. Don't scrap it.
Yeah, I need a bigger wall.
There's got a table outside. You do like some grilling outside or something.
That's a good point.
Maybe turn it into a flower bed or something.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea. You get the dump truck.
22 years, you can't give up on it that easily.
That's right. I've put a lot of love and energy into it. But it's taken me down many miles of rivers. And for everybody out there in radio land, the mountains of Appalachia are beautiful. There's beautiful rivers, beautiful mountains to hike. The water's clean. And so come and enjoy where we live. It's a beautiful place to visit.
Would you consider yourself capable of spending multiple nights out in a tent?
For sure.
Yeah?
I look forward to that whenever possible.
So if we're both still healthy in a few years,
Yeah.
say like a decade, let's say we're both financially sound at this point,
Uh-huh.
would you like to do the trail from south to north?
Wow,
The
interesting
Appalachian
question.
Trail. I've always wanted to do that one and the one on the West Coast.
Man, it's interesting. I've had friends that did it, and I think I want to do it in sections. Where you're like, my back kind of hurts, so maybe I should stop for a couple days.
But isn't that part of it? Is pushing through?
I don't know. I'm getting old. I'm 45 now, man. So, in 10 years, do the trail into 55. I'm sure we could do it.
Yeah?
That's a good point. Yeah,
Well,
I definitely want to see all of it for sure.
I was in Oregon, and we were hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. And there was a retired man that started on the Mexico border that starts in the south and goes all the way to the north, right? And retired man hiking by himself. You imagine we met him in Oregon, and just
Wow.
some of his stories of the months he had spent. And he was on the tail end of that journey. I'd been inspired previously, but even more inspiration was driven. So Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, both of those sound hard
There.
and rewarding, and something I'd like to do.
You should, Tony. And even if I'm not on the whole journey,
Oh,
I'll
you're
hike
joining
some
me.
with you.
Oh, I'm not letting. If you join me for a piece of it,
Oh, you can't let me go.
That's
huh?
right.
Won't let me go. One of the coldest night I ever spent out, you wanted a story, was on top of Paris Mountain near Parisburg, Virginia, just north of Virginia Tech.
Harrisburg.
Parisburg.
That's a thing. That's a place.
Paris.
Okay.
Berg. Yep, it's a beautiful little town, and it's this pyramid-shaped mountain sticking up out of the valley there, and there's a place called not Angel's Rest. I can't remember what the rock is called up there, but I spent the night up there by myself in 10 degrees, sleeping on snow. I had to start a fire to get my stove warm enough so that I can cook, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. Man, it was the coldest I've been. But it was beautiful up there. Stars shining like you wouldn't believe.
Well, we're going to segue to two truths and a lie, but
Let's do
before
it.
we do that, I want to tell you, I saw something on a TV show the other day that kind of blew my mind a little bit when you speak about sleeping on cold ground, right? And the person started a fire and dug a little hole in the ground, like a square shape, like a bed shape almost. Not a full bed, but like a bed shape. Took the hot coals, put it in the ground, put layer of soil back on top of it. It had a warm bed to sleep on for a while.
That sounds great.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
I had
it
never
is.
seen that before. I always thought, okay, sleep next to a fire, stay warm, right?
That's
But
right.
I was like, that's a bonus.
That is. It's great. You know, you should watch the movie Jeremiah Johnson.
Okay.
There's a scene in there where that's the case. A friend of mine in college at mechanical engineering school used to call me Benji Johnson after that movie. Like, you're an outdoorsy kind of guy. Anyway,
Outdoorsy kind of guy.
Yeah, like, all right. Yep. Well, two truths,
Two truths and a lie. Let's do it. I'm
Bring
ready
it
for
on.
you to I don't know
right.
what you're going to do, but we'll find out.
Okay. All right.
Oh, you have notes for this.
I do, because I'm a bad liar, so I had to remember which one I was going to lie about.
You and me both, man.
Yeah, man. Let's see. I've only been to 3 countries: the United States, Kenya, and Canada. So, all right. That's 1. My leg. I have a leg length difference, and it's a fun story. So I'll tell you after that. And then, I was just going to lie to you and say I hate mountains, but I just can't do it.
So obviously that's the lie.
Yeah, no, that's the lie.
Tell me about the leg thing.
Yeah, the leg thing. All right, Tony. So here's one of my earlier manufacturing experiences. My dad and I, during the winter of '92, winter of '92, we decided to make my own snowboard in Virginia. We had a huge snow, ice on top of it. Man, that thing was fast. It was made of 2x4s.
Sounds
it had,
awesome.
Had sheet metal on the bottom and had fins in the back, and it was just slick. And I rode that thing all day, and the last run of the day, I was going to go in and get some hot chocolate, and I fell over and broke my leg.
Oy.
Yeah, that's what I said. And so it healed back shorter. So I have like a 5/8 inch difference in leg length. So I have to send my shoes off to Ohio to have a lift put in them. It's a trip.
Good grief. That
Yeah.
makes me wonder about all the snowboarders and skiers out there. Have you been to a chiropractor? Could they put it back in
I know,
twist
right?
your hips a little bit or something?
I know. I wish I could, but no, they can't fix it that way. But for all those who want to make their own snowboard, use bindings. Make some bindings as well. That was my problem. I learned the hard way.
That's funny. All right. This is The Gun Show. This is my buddy Benji. This is Good People Technologies at goodpeopletech.com. I hope you've learned as much as I have today. It was really fun catching up with a long lost, not so lost friend. After so many years. Thank you all for listening and watching. If you have spent time with us today, manufacturing cannot manufacture more time. It's the one thing we cannot make more of. So if you've spent some of it with us today, we truly appreciate it. We'll see you again soon.